Hey everybody, Motorport 59 here. Talk a little bit about the new Emmett Till anti-lynching bill that was recently signed into law by President Biden. First off, let's define lynching. Lynching has nothing to do with hanging. I used to think it did. During the riots of 2020 is when I found out that that wasn't true. Lynching is anytime a group or mob, or however it wants to be defined, inflicts great bodily harm or death upon an individual under the guise of justice. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy from Chicago who was visiting relatives in Mississippi in 1955. And I did a little research on it, and it's unclear as to whether he whistled at a white woman or was flirting with a white woman who was an older proprietor of a store. And later, it didn't happen right then, later when the husband got word of it, the husband, the brother-in-law, there were 3 or 4 guys involved. They went to his family's house, Emmett Till's family's house, dragged him out of the house, beat him, mutilated him, and then shot him in the head and then sank him in a river. This was down in the Mississippi Delta near a town called Money. And his murderers were tried and acquitted, which is an absolute travesty and tragedy. But it was the Jim Crow era, and I'm not defending the Jim Crow era. I'm just saying things were a lot different back then. The black community today have no clue what their predecessors went through. They may think they do, but today is so much different. And I'm not going to get into equality and equity or whatever. That's something for another video. This is going to be about this bill and why it was written. The last lynching in America took place in 1981. It was a 19-year-old man named Michael Donald who was beaten to death and then hanged from a tree in Mobile, Alabama in 1981. Now, I don't know why this Emmett Till bill, I don't know why it wasn't called the Michael Donald bill. I don't know really why it had to even have a name attached to it. Very few people who live in the United States today know who Emmett Till was. They don't know who Michael Donald was either. I know I didn't. I had to do some research to find this stuff. But the thing is that this bill is pointless. It is absolutely pointless. All it is going to do, lynching is already a hate crime. If you are white and go out and kill a black person, that's considered a hate crime. If a black person kills a white person, as things are right now, that's not a hate crime. I don't understand that because, in my opinion, murder, first-degree murder, is a hate crime. It doesn't matter which races are involved. It doesn't matter if it's black on black, white on white, white on black, black. It doesn't make any difference. It's a hate crime. And these crimes, as hate crimes, as they are defined at this time, already carry severe federal penalties. And I have to wonder how this is going to play out. Is everyone going to be involved in this? Is everyone going to be looked at the same way? Are all these murders going to be looked at the same way? Are they going to be investigated as hate crimes, or are they just going to be investigated as crimes, depending on who's involved? Because I believe that if they're going to do this, that it should be aimed at everyone. It should be aimed at hate. But this is not about hate. This bill is not about hate. It wasn't about hate when it was originally circulated a few years ago, and it's not about hate now. It's about racism. It's about racial inequality or inequity or whatever buzzword of the day it is now. That's what this is about. And it is the Democrats offering platitudes to the black community, because this isn't going to affect and isn't aimed at anyone else. It's not aimed at the white community. It's not aimed at the Asians or the Hispanics or the Indians or the Native Americans. It's not aimed at anyone. All they're trying to do with this is garner votes from the low information, ignorant, rank and file liberal voter. And most of those are white people. They're not even black. They think they're aiming this at black people, but you know what? They know where they're aiming it. They know that the Gen Xers aren't paying attention to what's really going on. I don't think that the black community as a whole are fooled by things like this. Adding a few more years on to punishments that are already on the books, it will change nothing. It's not going to help race relations. It's not going to help prison populations. It's not going to make things equal. Look, I've been saying for decades, the lines of race are never going to go away as long as we keep pointing at them. And who is it that keeps pointing at them all the time? The Democrats, the left. They're the ones who continually point out the lines of race. And I'm not just talking about white people, I'm talking about the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons and the Spike Lees and these people who refuse to just let us all be Americans. They don't want that to happen. They're not interested in that at all. Without racism, without those kind of people continuing to point at the lines of race, they become irrelevant. And they're not going to let that happen. And the Democrat Party are not going to let that happen. And that's why they keep passing laws like this that are pointless, that are, as I said, going to change nothing. Racism was really, really losing momentum. It was losing its feet. It was fighting a losing battle up through the George W. Bush administration. And then we got the first black president elected in America. And while I'm a Republican and I knew Barack Obama was full of crap, I knew he was being handled, Hillary Clinton should have been the president. She should have won that primary and she would have kicked John McCain's butt and she should have been the president. But the left didn't want that. They wanted to put a black president in so it would appear that they were all for getting the equality, the equity. But that's not what they did, is it? When Barack Obama was elected, he set race relations in America back 50 years by involving the government and local law enforcement issues and taking obvious sides in cases where black men were shot, no matter by white cops or white whoever. Never during his administration was black on black crime addressed. Never during his administration was white on white crime. It was only black on white crime and black on white mistreatment by police. And it really damaged race relations in the United States. And I don't know if they'll ever recover because now the left continue to pass laws like this, and they're not going to do anything but make things worse. We have to stop pointing out the lines of race. Can't we all just be Americans? Why do we have to be African Americans? I have more Irish blood in me than I have true American blood. I'm only a third generation American on my dad's side. I don't identify as an Irish American. I've never been to Ireland. I don't know anything other than what I watch in documentaries about Ireland. I know it's pretty, but I'm not Irish. Nothing Irish about me at all. No more than a black family who have been here for 3 or 4 generations. They have no ties to Africa. But we have to stop using hyphens to identify ourselves. Let's just be Americans and let's try to move on, because the days of lynching are long past, as this Michael Donald 1981 lynching proves. But what about the stuff that went on in Portland? What about the murders in the cities in the riots in 2020? People were murdered in those. People were injured. Property was damaged. And not one mention of lynching, which is exactly what those are. When those people were killed and injured in those cities in 2020, it's exactly what that was. And it doesn't matter what color the people who initiated it were, and it doesn't matter what color the victims were. They were lynchings, and not one word was said about it. No one was prosecuted. No one was charged with murder. Women were being raped. And if you can sit there and look me or the country in the eye with a straight face and tell me that a woman being raped is not a form of lynching, because that is great bodily harm and is great emotional harm, and it is lynching, plain and simple. But again, back to this law. It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. It doesn't have any more teeth in it than the laws that already existed. There were 3 Republicans who voted against it. I don't recall their names. One from Georgia, one from Texas. I can't remember where the other one was from. But they all said essentially the same thing. This is just adding a little more time to sentencing procedures that are already in place in every state in the United States, in the federal statutes and states. A lot of states already have more severe penalties for this type of crime. But it doesn't matter, because these people are going to go to jail for this stuff. It's already happening. They go to jail for this. They're sentenced to 30 years, which is, I believe, the maximum that can be put on top of any other possible federal crime that they were involved in. So they get sentenced to 35 years for brandishing a weapon and lynching. They're going to be out in 12 years. That's just the way the prison system and the justice system works. It's not a justice system at all. We need to fix our justice system. We have a pretty good justice system set up by the Constitution, but the liberals have determined over the last 30 years or so that that justice system needs to be revamped so that they can remain in power and remain popular, even though they have absolutely no plans on truly changing anything. And laws like this are proof positive of that. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motopoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. We'll see you all later.